Hi. We should all just do a stop. Like we just. That'd be so bad. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Haz Mat Guys Roundtable podcast show majiggy, and it is an awesome week to be here. We are minus our fourth, Jason Rogers, the illustrious and benevolent Jason Rogers. He is not here tonight. I don't know. He's off on assignment. I think he's chasing a chicken or something. I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. But I am wearing my shirt. Very happy to be wearing that.
I went old school.
Oh, yep. That is old school. Oh, look at that. Look at everybody's got their shirts on.
Everybody's got their shirts on.
But Jason keeps in his safe the wording for all the advertising. So I will say thank you to Responder Training Enterprises, Ron Huffman, and the lads over there. Northeast Hazmat, always a good friend of ours as well. There's Mike Allen. He's Northeast Hazmat. Todd Burton out there, and also South Florida? Sorry, I'm waiting for that thing to switch around.
Intercontinental Fire Training Academy.
Yes, thank you so much for your sponsorship. And also at Hazmat 101 Consultants. Great people for great things.
That's something, I don't know.
See, I'm making new slogans up for everybody. It's great. So, how's everybody doing? Mike, how you doing? You still
I'm COVID free.
Oh. I actually just went today, and we said, guys, for the record, we're not going to go COVID deep, but today I went and got the needle to get the antibody test, and I'm negative. Not only do I not have it, but I don't have the antibodies. So I am confirming I am bulletproof.
That is all right, Bob. We need to get insurance on him now.
Yes, absolutely.
That is the kiss of death.
I have been shooting myself with small caliber bullets to build up to the bigger calibers, so I'm like inoculating myself right now. So.
Well, you got the shirt on, so that's going to protect you from everything. Right, exactly. I'm just saying.
So yeah, he has his color back. He doesn't look like a morgue. He looks like what was the guy? It was the Undertaker.
Paul. Oh, I thought you were going to go on Uncle Fester, but
Paul Bearer. Paul Bearer. That's his name.
Oh no.
Anywho, we're here to talk about hazmat. So, what's the haps?
What's the haps? Well, here's the haps. We talked about, God, what was it, a couple weeks ago? They had that mill explosion in Maine.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get some information. Dude, I've reached out to all kinds of people, and it was like, I don't know. I actually ended up getting stuff out of the news media. But basically, they had what they call a digester, which digests the pulp. They have two of them, and one of them blew up. And they said it really wasn't a big deal. But what I found was interesting is they said something about a chemical leaked into the area. But it was okay. Don't worry about it, because it's naturally going to just, I guess, get absorbed through Mother Earth, and it's not real toxic. It's nothing to be afraid of.
Right.
So if anybody has the information on what that chemical is, it'd be great. They cited some kind of proprietary, Fujima watches. So, but that's it. But that's an interesting, I'm sure everybody saw the video where this thing just blows up, and it was like a dash cam video. Did you see it?
Yeah, no, I've seen it. I've seen it from, I don't remember if it was a responding unit or whatever it was, but a lot of these places use like a corrosive, mostly a base, to pretty much make like I don't want to say a slurry because it's the wrong word, but
like a paste.
It makes a paste. It breaks the cellulose down into like a liquid format so that they can recombine it in whatever the hell they want. And they bleach it and do all that stuff. The hipsters like doing it with the natural colors.
Yes, natural bleach.
Natural bleaching.
They extract it from their own immune system.
Yeah, with their anti-vaxxing idea and flat earthing. But yeah, so I wonder. There was an incident. I'm going back quite a few years now. It was when I first came over. It's got to probably be around 2012. There was a. It sounds eerily like this because it was British Columbia on the east coast of Canada. There was a shipping yard, and they had those big steel containers that you put on the ships, and it was carrying sulfuric acid. which is extremely common. Everybody knows about that stuff, right? But it was being held in that, and when they put it down, it jostled the drums, and the sulfuric acid leaked out. Okay, fine. The bottom of those containers are made with wood. So when you have sulfuric acid, a corrosive plus and an oxidizer, I'm sorry, was it? Maybe it was hydrogen peroxide. I think it was hydrogen peroxide. So the hydrogen peroxide got in touch with the wood, and it got a little angry, and it ended up burning down like basically the whole dock. And we called them. It was something very akin to this, where there was a catastrophic release. They had the containers blowing their doors off because of the overpressurization. You know, cars are going on fire in these containers. These things hold everything.
Wow.
It's interesting. That mill, I mean, obviously it's not built to hold pressure.
I don't know. It seemed to do a pretty damn good job holding enough pressure to blow up to smithereens.
Yeah. That stuff went like 50, 60 plus feet high in the air. It was crazy. It was crazy.
You know, and you got to think, like, all that dirt and dust was like, that's all just pulp, powder, dust. You know?
I think my first year in Haz Mat, we went to not similar, but it was a waste treatment facility in which one of the tanks had blown apart. And as you walked onto the facility in the parking lot, all of the cars were laced with fecal material that had blown up and then came down.
Oh. Oh, boy. That's a good time, though.
Yeah, it was great.
That's
Listen,
a learning experience for everybody.
I had skid marks all over my level leg.
Inside and outside.
Inside and outside.
But Bob, you had the other one that was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, so there was, I can't remember what group it was, but which I got to say something real quick. Haz Mat Group 2 just hit over 6,000 members.
Wow.
Which is like crazy. So everybody that's part of that are joining it. And, you know, we really appreciate it. It's all about sharing information. So
I feel like I only see the same like 7 people.
Yeah. Well, maybe we made a bunch of other names. I'm just saying.
Well, those people they got to get a little more active.
They do. Please don't be afraid to chime in with an incident or whatever on there. Nobody's going to pick on you. It's all about learning, and that's what it's there for. But at any rate, getting back to your question. So there was on one of the chat groups a tanker that overturned. We won't mention location in the United States. And there was this big alert that it was sulfuric acid. And they were evacuating everybody. But then the pictures showed firefighters, law enforcement, everybody like all up in it. And it wasn't making sense. You know, I mean, everybody knows, like you mentioned earlier about sulfuric acid, everybody knows about it. Why was that happening and so on and so forth? Well, for some reason, somebody came out and said that's what it was. So that's what everybody went with, from my understanding, until they were able to ID it a little bit better and found out it was nothing more than a mild disinfectant being transported.
Mm.
So when people saw a lot of the pictures, and you couldn't see any placards, which was kind of weird. So when everybody saw the pictures, you know, it was, oh, why are they wearing this? Why are they up in that? So just to kind of clarify what was going on, they had some information. When they got better information, then they realized, okay, this is really not a big deal, basically. But that goes back to the thing. So, Bobby, you're the first new engine company.
Okay.
You pull up, coming up around the corner, and you see a tanker. You don't know much about Haz Mat. You just see a tanker on its side. What's your thing? What are you gonna do?
Honestly, you know, all right. So me being who I am with what I know, it's hard.
Right.
There's
a total difference, because I can tell you what they will do. They will pull up right near the tanker. They will walk out with their jackets open and SCBA on. Right. They're gonna be like, wow, it rained a lot right here. And it wasn't raining when we left the firehouse. I wonder how all that liquid accumulated from the rain that wasn't raining.
My flip-flops are a little slippery.
They're not going to notice as they slowly shorten in height.
Yeah. What a world. No, honestly, I would. All right, so let's fall back to the ERG. I would go with the uphill, upwind, upstate approach, right? Because that honestly does probably the most good. If there's one thing I could tell the first new engine company is adhere to that rule, that really makes a big impact in your whole operation.
But
Oh, absolutely.
In all honesty, like so think about like our location, but take like the BQE for example, right? Like you're getting on at a very specific point. There is no getting off once you're on, and you're arriving. It's not like you can be like, oh, I'm going to jump onto the service road that's 400 feet above me.
Right, right. But all right, so let me continue my operation. So
Okay.
I have. Do I put out a foam line? I don't know. Right? So the only way to know if I need a foam line is to use my 4-gas meter. Okay, fine. So if I'm uphill, upwind, upstate, then my meter shouldn't be getting anything if I'm doing this right.
If you have a meter.
If I have a meter.
If you even have a meter.
Right. But honestly, it's going to be basically put up tape, everybody stay away, call for the hazmat unit. There's not much I can do. If I do have a meter, then I could probably start doing almost like take a walk around the exposure and see if the flammability goes up. If it does go up, then I'd probably be like, all right, I have something that's flammable. More than likely, we need some foam, and I would be using something like a ARAFFF type foam. And I'm not making any brand names. I don't really care about the brand names, but pick your brand name because that'll work on both your polar and non-polar solvents, and you can throw that out there. Do you need it? I don't know. I mean, like me, from where I live and I work, we try to give out jugs of foam to the civilians. We're trying to get rid of it so fast, you know. So, but other places they might not have the ability to even buy enough to cover that operation. So I'm gonna probably say I'll have it ready, but I won't charge it because I'm basing it on the average of the country. Just say that.
Oh, and you could be making a bigger mess too.
Right. I was just gonna say like. Unless you have a reason to be an actual reason to be putting foam down, like you've identified as a flammable or a combustible middle of the summertime, unless you can actually have valid reasons for putting down a foam line.
Or it's on fire.
Or it's on fire.
Right.
Yeah. If it's on fire, yeah.
If the technician specialists are going to drill, do cold tapping and stuff, then yes, I have to throw foam. But up to that point, I'm only calling the hazmat unit. There's no reason to throw foam yet. Right.
So I think as a first new company arriving, you have certain things that you're obligated to do, right? Analyzing the scene is one of the very first ones, and part of that analyzing is taking all the information that you can to identify what the possible product is, right? So we do this in a very operations are supposed to do this in a very specific method where it is literally observation as you start to see stuff, right? So the very first thing that you can often see on the road is the type of container that it's in. Again, going back to what Bob said with the ERG, meshing your information with the ERG. As you get closer, you get more and more information. You're able to try to identify better what that product is. I think identification, any kind of immediate life is going to be a pretty heavy duty top priority. And then if the immediate, like a driver's life or a pin life or all that's accounted for, you start to take a step back and you look at the public as a whole. Right. Try to make sure that they are covered as best as possible with the information that is provided. Always constantly trying to update your information and look for clues that help you identify what it is that you're dealing with, whether that's a placard, whether that's a driver, whether that's a shape of a container, a vehicle, anything along those lines.
I will say, starting the process, going all the way back to when you leave the firehouse or whatever building you're leaving from, the first thing that you guys talk about wind speed, and direction, who are you going to get it from? Like when I asked for it, I'd get it from Orlando National Airport. That's where my dispatch would get it from. I'm on the opposite side of the city, so that does me absolutely no good. So just leaving the firehouse, looking up at the flag that the rookie should have put up, or the trees and the flags as I'm getting closer to seeing, that'll kind of give me an opportunity to see at least which way I need to come in. And then I may pull a hose line, charge it, and not flow anything. like you said,
Right.
and just kind of size it up, see what's going on.
Right. Just get the line together, because it takes. If you were to say, "Hey, listen, it goes on fire," there's a reflex time with foam.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
How many pounds is it to the adductor, and then how many lengths is it from the engine to the adductor, and then how many lengths is it from the adductor to the foam tip, and what size is it? And it's like, wait, there's a reducer missing. Is there a double female? Do we have? It's like, holy crap, man! Get all that shit set up early, and just sit there and wait, because all you gotta do is now pull the trigger. It's like,
and do you even have enough foam? Because if you don't even have enough foam to start, to start the operation.
Yeah, right. So, all right, what are we gonna do? You want to take this as a technician? The hazmat unit is now pulled up.
Yep. Now engine companies was there. They got a line on the ground. They said, we don't know what it is. Something's leaking. We put some dirt around the gutters and the manways. We've diked stuff off. It's your baby. Go.
Mike, you take this.
We're done. We're picking up. We're out of here.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm getting off in bunker gear, SCBA. Do I have any information on the vehicle? Like, do I have any analytical information at all? Or am I literally starting from scratch?
The only information you have is that it's some type of tanker. They can't tell you 306, 311. They don't know, and they didn't look at their ERG. And
okay.
It's on its side with some kind of leak coming from it. There's obviously something leaking, but we don't know what.
All right. So my initial thing is going to be recon. I'm going to recon in my bunker gear. I'm probably going to split, create a second entry team to help gather more information. Maybe one go back, one go forward. Either way, I'm grabbing a pop-up pool, some kind of a pop-up pool, in case the leak is not fast enough.
What are you wearing?
I'm wearing bunker gear SCBA.
Okay.
Right? Until my meters tell me otherwise, I'm in bunker gear and SCBA.
Yep.
And I'm bringing meters. I'm bringing my 5-gas PID, catalytic bead. I will probably be also bringing my AP4C because I love to carry that thing around with me everywhere I go. I've got pH paper. I've got test strips. And I'm seeing what everything says as I'm walking around gathering information. Number one, obviously, I'm looking for life because I'm going to try to get closer than anybody else. Barring that, whatever my meters tell me is how close I'll be able to get.
Yeah.
I'll try to gather as much information from the vehicle as possible. I'll try to get into the cab to see if I can grab some kind of shipping papers or, have the resource guy talk to the driver. I'm in gather information mode. I'm sizing up. I'm looking to see what we've got, the type of leak, the size of the leak, what other possible damage may be happening. That way I can take all that information and we can go back and do a hazmat huddle and figure out a game plan. If by the time we get together, we have no idea what the product is, then we're going to attempt to do a little bit more sampling to try to narrow down at least a category so I know what I can try to mitigate or slow this leak down in.
Yeah.
Pretty solid.
I'm very big on the standoff size up. So I'm going to make sure that like the tank is compatible with what I'm thinking. Right now, sulfuric acid, and this is one of my favorites because people are like, oh, sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid is incredibly statistically common of a spill. Like we did a show, it's almost probably a year and a half ago.
A while ago. With the economic indicator?
Yeah, it's a tier 2. It was a tier 2 report for, I want to say 2017. And it comes out in New York City. It comes out in 2018 because why wouldn't it? And so it's 2 years old right now. But sulfuric acid was the most transported chemical in New York City by tenfold to the second one. So we started looking at this a little bit more, and we found out that sulfuric acid is the direct economic indicator as how vibrant an economy is in a country. The more sulfuric acid they consume, the more GDP they generally have. So it's surprising how much sulfuric acid is out there. Is it likely that sulfuric acid was the leak? yes,
Yeah.
it's incredibly likely that sulfuric acid was leaked. Now, the thing what I'm kind of building towards is the tank giving me that indication? If it's not a 407, it's not so well. It could be a 312 too. I don't. But what I'm saying is, if it's a 338, if it's a 331, right? If it's a propane tank, if
Right.
it's a cryo tank, if it's a gasoline tank, it's not sulfuric.
Right.
Can
Right.
it be in a 312? Can it be in a 407? Yes. Is it going to be in the other ones? Absolutely not. So then you can take that out. And this has happened to me and Mike on many occasions. Is this confirmation bias where you coming in and the information's coming in, you're like, it's sulfuric acid. And when you get in there, your pH strips don't turn over, and you're like, still sulfuric acid. And you're walking around because you want it to be sulfuric acid. And it sounds like, this cleaning solution, which, again, cleaning solutions can be acidic or basic, or they can be
Yep,
neutral.
absolutely.
But sulfuric acid, depending on the concentration, can be coming out of solution. What is it? Is it nitric? Is oleum? Which one is it?
Oh.
One
No,
of that's super saturated.
Yeah.
Somebody put it in the group. I don't remember. I think it's nitric acid when it's super saturated. Is oleum, and they call it oleum. Off the top of my head, but sulfuric acid, as it becomes more concentrated in solution, it will start off gassing, just like muriatic acid over like 35% when you buy it from Home Depot to etch and clean the brick, will start foaming and giving off gas. So if it, as the technician, if it doesn't look like a dog and doesn't bark like a dog, is it a dog? And your meters are going to tell you if it's a dog.
Right.
Well, and just based on the picture of seeing where everybody was, and they're standing there with no bunker gear on or very limited, and the cops standing right in it, I'm gonna say it wasn't sulfuric acid. But like I said, in the beginning, that's what the information they got, and that's what they ran with until they determined otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, and you know what? That's a really good point. On demo, I'm sorry, I don't know. It's escaping me. Says you should stretch a decon line. So not only a foam line, but the decon line. And that is even if you're doing a recon, even if you're doing a perimeter search, that's not a bad move.
Well, that's what that engine company's first line is. I mean, it's a protection line and a decon line.
Yeah, you can.
First decon.
Yeah, I mean, all you have to do is not put the inductor in the foam, and you're running a decon line.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. That's a good point. You guys suck.
Freaking, they forget to do that. You get doused with a mouthful of AFFF.
No, but like, all right. How did they find out it was not sulfuric acid? Was it just the pH paper? They found the paperwork. How did they switch gears?
I think they ended up getting the paperwork because the driver, from my understanding, went to the hospital. I think actually died.
Well, that was going to be, but yeah, did they switch gears, or did information through the phone game get misinterpreted? Like, so what the units on scene know that it wasn't a big deal, but then somehow through the chain, through that telephone game, it ended up being something else. Or did they think it was something else? They realized it wasn't, and then again through a break in communication, it wasn't.
It absolutely could have been. I know a department that got dispatched to a CO alarm at a restaurant, and it wasn't the CO; it was a CO2 alarm.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody was thinking one way, and they couldn't figure out why the CO2 sensor wasn't, or the CO sensor wasn't going off, and that was just purely a mistake from dispatch.
Yes, which happens all the time. Nothing against dispatchers.
No.
I love you guys, but you just don't know the difference between CO and CO2.
And it could have been the person telling them wrong information. Who knows?
Right.
That's interesting. There's a couple of messages in the things that so nice to me not be talking about COVID.
Yeah. So what are all of you guys using for electrostatic sprayers?
Oh, who isn't? Dun, 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 dun. Oh, good God. I don't know.
That was good.
No, it's you know what, we're gonna come up. If you guys like that kind of stuff, I really like talking tactics.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
strategies. And I think I speak for all of us. I hate armchair quarterbacking other operators. Like, well, I've said this many times before. I don't like doing it because the guy that's on scene has one thing that I do not have.
He's
I
on
have,
scene.
yeah, no, he's on scene, but he has the unknown, and I
Right.
know the punchline to the joke. So it's very
Right.
easy for me to go, well, why didn't he just put on his level B suit?
Right.
Because he didn't know. And that to me as an operator is an offensive thing for me to scalp him and for him to be in this position waiting for the scalping to come. So, oh, it's Rob
But
Horrigan. Oh, hey, what's going on, baby?
but at the same time, and I know that we have tried to be extremely open with mistakes that we have made
Oh yeah.
in our careers, because there's just, you can't teach your lessons that have learned unless you've learned lessons. You don't learn lessons without screwing up royally.
Oh,
Uh,
totally.
so I hope that anybody who's made a mistake is willing, for the sake of the rest of the community, to get up and be like, dude, I had this run and I really effed it up.
Yep. Well, unfortunately, in the fire service, we're great at beating our chest when we do something great, but we don't say nothing when we screw something up.
No.
And that's what we learn, So
And it's,
trust me, I
there's a
screw up
lot to
every
be
day.
said about that. There's a lot to be said about that. There's a show that back in the day of the conference, when we used to go to these big rooms and speak to many people. Remember those days? Oh, it's like, but anyway.
Non-social distancing gatherings.
Oh, it was what gumdrops and unicorns came out of there.
I hear the
Pixie
COVID bell
dust.
going off. Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, oleum is sulfuric acid. Thank you, Scott
Sulfuric, that's
Johnson.
right.
Thank you so much. But there was a thing about. Oh my God! What the hell were we just talking about? I just had a senior moment right there.
That's not good. You're younger than me.
We were just talking about. Oh my God! What the hell were we just talking about?
The conferences, the
Yeah, before that.
gatherings,
The gatherings. But I brought that into it.
beating our chest and not giving information.
Oh yeah. About critiquing.
Yeah.
That was the point. I suck.
So next week.
I can't believe this. I had such a good point.
But no, you're right. We don't do, just like you guys do for your podcast, hot watches, interviews, people that talk to you guys and say, hey, this is a run we had, like the run I had. We talk about it and what we screwed up. I mean, that's great.
I think it's probably some of the most vital information that we could be sharing. And then to be able to have it, I say it all the time, come on the show. You don't have to give who you are, where you're from, just what happened, what the mistakes were, what the thought process was, and what the lessons are learned, because that is the only way to pass information on to the next generation.
Yeah. Yep. The point I was going to make was that we did an investigation of one of our presentations that there is actually, and I'm not going to say this is like a conspiracy theory or anything like that, but I think one of the big reasons why departments don't do extensive hot washes is because not only do they not want to, admit their failures, but they don't want to open themselves up to liability.
Yes.
Saying that we have a failure of our communications, infrastructure, what you name it, and say we're going to address it, and then not be able to address it. I know there's a strong words to some departments out there, but that is true. And so, we say, we're all about the people and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, at a certain point, there are certain things that aren't lining up. Like, we're typically a can-do organization, so why don't we act like that? Financial, we talk about this all the time, is that, we're dialing back on the finance. We're dialing back on how much we put on a rig and what equipment, do more with less. And yet, when things go wrong, they're like, yeah. So, I don't know. Images, my company can do it. I can do it. My department can do it. So I'm going to push harder, faster, higher. And guys get hooked up for that. It's just it gets sticky.
Yep.
Indeed.
So.
Indeed.
I think that's it. Are we
I
good?
would agree.
All right. Well, once again, I would like to thank our show sponsors, First Responder Training Enterprises, Mike Allen from Northeast Hazmat, Todd Burton, and the gang from his fish shop, 101 Consultants, and Intercontinental, right?
Intercontinental Fire Training Academy.
Thank you so much. Oh, and also, if you haven't done it, and I'll talk to you a little while there, Rob Hergen, check out the thmgeuniversity.com. Lots of stuff. I got to say, if you would have asked me how many courses we had up there 3 or 4 days ago, it would have been 6. I think today we had 14, and I got 4 to put up tomorrow. It is coming in hot and heavy. So get your learn on.
Get your
Good stuff.
Your social distancing learn on.
Yeah. So,
Virus free. We use an antivirus for every single one of our shows.
yes. COVID free. What a
COVID
delight.
free.
Good night, guys.
Awesome. Good night.
Learn without the